much. Joining me now, General Jack Keane, Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General, good to have you here tonight. First, your thought on that, on the Kissinger model. Is that something that you would recommend for the Secretary of State to do both jobs?
Well, I wouldn't recommend it, but I certainly understand why. I think, here we got a president closing in on 3 years. And there's been a fair amount of disruption in terms of national security, not so much the policies, but the development of those policies and the personalities involved in doing that. The president now clearly is no longer a journeyman in foreign policy and national security. He's in the job. He knows where he wants America to go. And I think he wants a smooth sailing ship around him. He wants to minimize the disruptions. And that's probably at the heart of this thing. I gave advice once to the administration on something very similar to that. I said, listen, national security and foreign policy is not like domestic policy. When you make a decision, it's very difficult to reverse it and has huge consequences. The stakes are very high. Therefore, pick people who know and have expertise and knowledge you may not have, but also, and I said this, Martha, pick people you like, because the stress is significant. You're going to spend a lot of time around them, and you like someone who has knowledge to help you. The working relationship is so much better. Here, I think we had policy disagreements as well as personality conflicts, and I think both people, the president and John Bolton, came to the same conclusion. He probably needs to get somebody else.
So I guess one of the biggest questions here going forward, General, is what does it mean for policy? The president has expressed an interest in discussions with Rouhani. Secretary of State Pompeo said that it's possible. He said, sure, it's possible that they could sit down even later this month at the end of September when they're at the UN. What does it indicate to you about the direction that the president wants to go with all of these big issues, dialogue, lifting sanctions, and the like?
Well, first of all, there is absolutely no doubt. Anybody that spends any time whatsoever with this president knows that he is driving foreign policy and national security decision-making and policy-making in this country, unequivocally so. That being the case, he's also somewhat unconventional in the degree that he wants to exercise personal diplomacy, particularly with our adversaries. He trusts his own instincts and judgments about that, and he wants to try that, even though others have failed at doing just that. And that's not going to change. So I think what we have to help the president do is structure that as best as possible to try to put in place the necessary staff work that's required to set the president up for success in those kind of meetings. But they're going to continue. I don't believe the nation's the least bit at risk talking to Rouhani or another one of our adversaries, frankly, because the president's going in with a firm position on what the United States stands for and what is the desired outcome from these negotiations.
So before I let you go, there's a line of thinking that the Wall Street Journal wrote about today that said that the country is less safe with John Bolton not in the room. That he was a voice. Obviously, he's a hard line, but that his thoughts added to the mix was keeping us safer. What do you say to that?
No, I don't buy that. I don't think the National Security Advisor by himself is making the country necessarily less safe or stronger. I think it's a collection of that team. We have obviously a very competent military. We have a strong Central Intelligence Agency. I believe we have one of the best chief diplomats in Secretary Pompeo that we've had in years. So that is a strong team around the president. And the president himself now has 3 years of experience under his belt. You put that together, and that's what's keeping America safe. And no one person by themselves is doing that. So that's a little hand-wringing, I believe, in terms of what took place here. And I agree with a lot of the policies that John Bolton had. Let me just declare that. But nonetheless, in of himself, I don't believe for a fact that America is any less safe. And I don't think John would believe that either.
General, thank you very much. General Jack Keane, good to see you tonight, sir.
Yeah, good talking to you, Martha.
You bet.